All right, so today we're diving deep on Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve.
Now, I bet you probably came in with that Superman image in your head.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get to that. But this dive is about way more than just Superman.
Oh, for sure.
We've got reviews of a new documentary about him, some personal reflections from people who knew him, even a peek at some of his other roles beyond Superman.
Oh, greatly.
So are you ready to see like a whole new side of Christopher Reeve?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think what really struck me looking at all these sources is how many of them call Reeve heroic, even when they're talking about stuff completely separate from Superman.
Right.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, one source even told this story about a kid who was so obsessed with Reeve as Superman, they insisted on being called Clark for like 2 years straight.
Oh, wow.
Like wore the costume under their clothes, the whole 9 yards.
Dedicated.
Did you ever have a hero like that growing up?
You know, not to that extent, but I can totally see why someone would be so drawn to Reeve's Superman.
Yeah.
That 1978 movie wasn't just a hit. It really captured a moment in our culture.
I can see that.
Reeve didn't just play Superman. He kind of became this symbol of hope at a time when I think the world really needed one.
That's interesting.
It makes you think about the power of an actor to tap into something like that.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because the sources really make a point of saying that Reeve wasn't just a one-trick pony.
Oh, definitely.
Like, he wasn't just Superman.
Right.
There's this one review that specifically talks about his performance in the play Death Trap.
Death Trap.
Which is this, like, thriller, totally different vibe.
Yeah.
And the review called it proof that Reeve could handle these complex, darker roles, too.
What do you know about that?
Well, I think it shows that he was a serious actor,
Yeah.
not just coasting on fame.
Right.
Death Trap, it demanded a lot from an actor, witty dialogue, those super tense scenes. And, you know, Reeve's character was not exactly a good guy.
Not your typical hero.
Exactly. And according to this critic, Reeve totally nailed it.
He was up for the challenge.
Yeah. But then, of course, comes 1995, the horse riding accident.
Right.
Every single source mentions it, obviously.
Of course.
But what's interesting is they don't dwell on the tragedy itself.
Yeah.
They're way more focused on what came after.
Yeah, that's key,
Yeah.
right? Reeve's story could ended there or just become this like what if tragedy.
I see what you mean.
But all these sources, they focus on how he shifted gears,
Okay.
became this incredibly powerful advocate. And even the word hero comes up again,
Wow.
but in a totally new context.
Right. It's like heroic without the cape.
Exactly.
I saw that line in a few places.
Yeah, it's powerful.
But I'm curious, what did these sources actually say that Reeve did that made him such a powerful advocate?
So one documentary really dives into his work with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation.
Okay.
And it wasn't just about finding a cure for spinal cord injuries,
All right.
which is obviously a huge part of it.
Sure.
But Reeve also pushed hard for improvements in quality of life,
Like what kind of things?
like better wheelchairs, more accessible housing. He even wanted to change how people perceived disability.
So he was tackling the practical stuff and the attitudes.
Absolutely. He wanted to change the whole game.
That's a lot to take on.
Yeah, it was a huge undertaking.
Yes.
And another source, this was a personal reflection from someone who actually knew Reeve, talked about how Reeve never tried to sugarcoat how difficult his situation was.
So he wasn't just putting on a brave face.
No, not at all. He spoke openly about the frustration, the pain, even the times when he felt despair.
Wow. So he was really honest about it.
Brutally honest. And I think that's a big part of why he resonated with so many people.
Makes sense.
He was honest about the struggles, but he always came back to hope, to the possibility of progress. And he didn't just talk about it. He took action, lobbying Congress, raising millions of dollars for research, constantly pushing for change.
So he put his money where his mouth was.
Exactly. He was all in.
And this is where that quote comes in. He redefined what it means to be a hero.
Powerful stuff.
But some sources also mention Reeve's flaws, you know, his human side.
Right. He wasn't
So
personally...
how do they balance that with this idea of him being a hero?
It's interesting, right? There's this one review that said, Reeve's story is so powerful precisely because he wasn't some flawless icon.
I like that.
He made mistakes, struggled with his temper, sometimes had moments of doubt, but it never stopped him from fighting for what he believed in.
So it's like true heroism isn't about being perfect.
Right.
It's about showing up and doing the work, even when it's really hard.
I think that's a great way to put it, and I'm guessing his family played a big role in all this.
Oh, absolutely. The sources mentioned Dana Reeve a lot.
Yeah, she was a huge part of his story.
What did they say about her?
One source described Dana as the steel in his spine after the accident.
Wow.
She wasn't just a supportive wife, she was a force.
Yeah.
co-founded the foundation, advocated alongside him, kept their family going through some incredibly tough times.
It sounds like their love story is like a whole other layer to all of this.
Absolutely. It wasn't just Christopher's fight, it was theirs together.
That's beautiful. And then there's that story about Robin Williams visiting Reeve after the accident and somehow making him laugh.
I love that story.
It's such a small detail, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, imagine being in Reeve's position, facing that reality, and then your friend Robin Williams shows up and just cracks jokes, reminds you of the joy in life.
Yeah.
That's true friendship right there.
It really is. It speaks to how even in the darkest times, laughter and connection can be so healing.
Absolutely. It's like medicine for the soul.
Okay, so we've got this image of Reeves, talented actor, turns into this powerhouse advocate after tragedy, but with this very human side to him.
It's a complex picture.
It is. Which source has stood out to you the most so far?
You know, the one that really got to me was
Yeah.
a piece written by someone who actually benefited from the work the Reeve Foundation did.
Oh, wow.
They talked about how before Reeve came along, accessible technology was seen as this niche thing, almost an afterthought.
So Reeve helped bring it into the mainstream.
It's exactly. This person was describing how Reeve's advocacy led to things like voice-activated software becoming more common,
Right.
which completely changed their life.
Wow.
They could work, communicate, even just navigate the internet in ways they couldn't before.
Makes sense because so many of the sources mention inclusion
Yeah.
and how Reeve really fought for people with disabilities to be seen as well, just people.
Absolutely not defined by their condition.
Right.
And one documentary actually showed clips of Reeve testifying before Congress,
No way.
arguing passionately for funding, for disability research, and for laws to protect the rights of people with disabilities.
So he wasn't just talking.
No, he was in the trenches fighting for change.
That's a far cry from Hollywood.
It is. But the sources also point out that Reeve used his celebrity to shine a light on these issues.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to leverage his platform to bring attention to causes that were often overlooked.
It's interesting because it seems like he could have easily retreated from public life after the accident,
Right.
but instead he chose to be even more visible.
More outspoken, and that's what makes his story so compelling. He didn't let tragedy silence him.
Yeah.
He used it as a springboard to amplify his voice and fight for something bigger than himself.
Wow.
It's that unwavering commitment to a cause that really resonated with people.
It also seems like his work has had a lasting impact.
For sure.
The sources talk about how the Reeve Foundation is still a leading force in spinal cord injury research and advocacy.
Absolutely. They've funded groundbreaking research, developed innovative therapies, and they've continued to push for policy changes that improve the lives of people with disabilities.
So Reeve's legacy is still alive.
It lives on in the work they do every single day.
Okay, so we've seen Reeve as Superman, as this skilled actor, and then as this tireless advocate. But what about Christopher Reeve, the person?
Right.
What did the sources say about him beyond the public image?
Well, one thing that really struck me was how several sources emphasized his sense of humor.
Yeah.
Even after the accident, he never lost his ability to laugh, to find joy in the little things.
We talked about the Robin Williams story.
Yeah, exactly. But even beyond that, people who knew him described him as witty and charming.
So even when he was facing these unimaginable challenges, he held on to that part of himself.
It seems that way, and I think it speaks to his resilience.
Yeah.
Humor can be such a powerful coping mechanism,
For sure.
a way to find light in the darkness.
Yeah.
It's like he refused to let the accident steal his joy.
It's also a reminder that even heroes are human. They have flaws, they experience pain, they need a good laugh just like everyone else.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes Reeve's story so relatable.
I agree.
He wasn't some superhuman figure.
Yeah.
He is a man who faced these immense challenges with courage, determination, and a healthy dose of humor.
Love that. And it's a reminder that even when we're facing adversity, we can choose how we respond,
Right.
how we define ourselves.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to that powerful quote from one of the documentary synopses.
Okay.
Once you choose hope, anything is possible.
What do you think Reeve meant by that?
What do I think? Yeah.
Well, I think it speaks to the power of mindset.
Right.
Hope isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything's fine.
Okay.
It's about choosing to believe in the possibility of a better future, even when things are tough.
So it's an active choice.
Yeah, not just a feeling.
I see what you mean. It's about focusing on what you can control, taking action even when it feels overwhelming, and surrounding yourself with people who support you, who lift you up when you need it.
Like Reeve had Dana and Robin Williams.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we don't have to go through tough times alone.
We don't. And even small acts of kindness, like a friend making you laugh, can have a huge impact on how you cope with challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
But it all starts with that choice, that decision to embrace hope.
A first step.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many people were inspired by Reeve's story.
Right.
How many lives were touched by his work.
Countless, I'd imagine.
I bet, and that's a powerful legacy to leave behind.
It really is. He didn't just entertain people on screen.
Yeah. He challenged them to think differently, to see the world through a lens of compassion and possibility.
He did. It's interesting, you know, because when you think about like the classic image of a hero,
Yeah.
it's all about strength, right? Overcoming obstacle.
Like the Superman stuff.
Exactly. But Reeve's story, it adds this whole other layer.
What's that?
Vulnerability.
Oh, I see what you mean.
He didn't shy away from showing people his struggles.
He didn't?
In fact, one source even said that by being so open about his pain and his frustration, Reeve actually made himself more relatable, more human.
More human because he was showing his struggles.
Right. People saw him not as this like untouchable icon,
Yeah.
but as a real person going through something incredibly difficult and finding a way to keep going.
He was just like us in a way.
And maybe that's the truly heroic part,
Not the Superman part.
not the muscles and the cape,
Okay.
but the inner strength to face each day knowing that it wasn't going to be easy.
I like that.
It's like he redefined what it means to be strong.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about enduring hardship.
Wow.
It was about finding purpose in it.
Finding purpose in it.
Reeve could have easily just focused on his own suffering,
Yeah.
but he chose to use his platform to advocate for others, to push for a better future for everyone facing similar challenges.
And that's where the hope comes in, right?
I hope.
It's not about pretending that everything's okay.
Right.
It's about believing that things can get better, that progress is possible, and then actually doing something to make it happen.
Taking action.
Right. One source called Reeve, a beacon of hope for the disability community.
A beacon of hope.
And it wasn't just empty words, right? It was backed up by his actions, the research. He funded the laws. He helped to pass the awareness that he raised.
It's really
He
amazing.
shifted the whole conversation around disability.
He really did.
So let's bring it back to you, the listener.
Okay.
You came into this deep dive probably with that image of Reeve as Superman.
Larger than life.
Right, this larger-than-life figure. And now that we've gone through all these sources with you,
Yeah.
what's one thing that you're taking away about his life that maybe surprised you?
You know what surprised me the most was the depth of his impact beyond acting.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, he was
Right.
Superman, and that obviously had a huge cultural impact.
Right.
But his work as an advocate, I think that was even more significant.
More significant.
He helped change the way we think about disability, the way we treat people with disability.
Yeah.
That's a legacy that's going to last far beyond any movie role.
And it all stemmed from that choice.
The choice.
The one we talked about earlier, choosing hope,
Yeah.
Reeve's life. It's really a testament to the power of that choice, to the ripple effect that it can have on the world.
It's inspiring.
It really is. And it makes you think about what choosing hope could look like in your own life, right?
Yeah.
What challenges are you facing? What impact do you want to have on the world?
Good questions.
Maybe Reeve's story can be a source of inspiration for you, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, choosing hope can lead to extraordinary things.
Two extraordinary things.